Hello? Hello? Is anybody out there?
Welcome to All the Shit with Tom and Will. This is the Quick Hit Weekly.
What's up, Tom?
What's going on, Will? Welcome back, man.
Yeah, good to see you.
Dude, you're popping in here flying in hot.
Flying in hot.
Yeah, man. Dropping your daughter off at gymnastics. Would you have to slap a hoe in the parking lot or something?
Hey, fortunately, I did not have to drop that hoe. No. Yeah, man, just a busy day.
So, high-low wildcard, man. What do you got for me this week?
High-low wild card, man. I've really been enjoying the time between when I pick my daughter up from school and when I drop her off at gymnastics. We usually have like an hour and a half. I let her pick a playground. We'll go. Today we played, 30 some rounds of tic-tac-toe. It's been cool to have that one-on-one time because it's a bit of a calm between the storms, so to speak, and we just hang out. She eats a quick snack. We'll play around on the playground, play tic-tac-toe, do whatever. Just really enjoying that as of late.
A calm between the storm in terms of going from one thing to the next, or a calm between the storm of her being a toddler and loving you and being a teenager and hating you?
Well, probably both. Really, I think that from what I've seen in others and just in general, I think really it's Caitlin she's going to hate. So, that's okay. And I'll be duking it out with my son, of course. But just between the rushing to and from school and, gymnastics and then coming here, and it's just a nice little time there.
Yeah, just a breather.
Mm-hmm. So, that's a bit of the high, just kind of trying to enjoy the moment before it passes by. I'll be honest, as far as a low, the past week or so, I've just been freaking dissatisfied with everything in general, like everything. And so I've just been trying to keep things in perspective and deal with that, realizing that my bad is not that bad. And a lot of people would much rather deal with my bad than, be sitting in a hospital bed dying or...
Sure, yeah. When you say that, though, are you talking about, like, feeling depressed?
Just dissatisfied.
Everything
not depressed.
sucks.
Yeah, everything sucks. Nothing is what I would like it to be, where I want it to be. Just kind of annoyed. I think there's, not to beat a dead horse, but the underlying drudgery of the health-related stuff, it kind of keeps me at a base level of annoyed. And then if I allow, my dissatisfaction in other areas of my life, to weigh on me, it just kind of compounds.
Well, what are some of those things?
Oh, just everything, man. I'm not where I want to be in my career. Financially, I'm not where I want to be. I don't have the house I want. I don't have the car I want. Like all these things.
Is it solely material?
No, I wouldn't say it's material. I wish I had accomplished more than I have at this point in my life. This would have been a great spot to be in at 30. At 40, not so much. A little late to the party in some ways.
Yeah, but dude, you're sitting here on a Wednesday afternoon talking to me.
What could be better, right? Trying to keep things in perspective, it's not that bad, but I just had a bit of a patch where I'm just like, man, this is bullshit. This is not what I want. And, for that brief moment I allowed myself to feel that way, it's like I didn't feel like there was a lot I could do about it.
So when you have those moments and you're thinking about that stuff, do you think about your path out, or do you just kind of sit there and...
It depends. It depends on how stuck in that negative mindset I am. Certainly the way to get out of being in that mental space is to think about your path out of the things you're not happy about. How do you drive improvement in those areas? You identify that, and then you get busy doing it. And a lot of times just the act of working towards that is enough to pull yourself out of that funk. Sometimes, just like anybody else, I'll be a little bitch and I'll be like, this sucks, and just succumb to that brief moment of victim's mentality or whatever, which I hate when I see it in other people. I hate it even more when I see it myself, but sometimes it's good to just be a little salty.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You get that from time to time, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like
embrace the suck.
Part of it is also being able to sit with your emotions and embrace it, like you said, right?
Yeah.
So identifying, I feel shitty. I'm going to pout about it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You can't look at yourself and think, oh, well, I'm too good to pout. I've got nothing to complain about. No, man, you still get to complain.
Right.
Just don't make a habit of it and don't stretch it out over the course of a week and pull everyone in your orbit toward you into that negative energy,
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of it for the low. But, I feel like I'm on the upswing, and certainly these things are shorter duration than they have been in the past. So that's good. The wild card. This one. So I'm driving my daughter to school this morning, and it's quiet. She's been quiet for 10 or 15 minutes. She's been reading a book. and I'm listening to the radio, just kind of zoning out. And she goes, I can't wait another 3 days. And I'm like, Lil, what are you talking about? Yeah, she's like, I just can't wait to crush these fools. And I'm like, what, 3 days? And I do the math in my head. I'm like, are you talking about soccer? It's her first soccer game on Saturday. And she's like, yeah, I just can't wait to crush them. And she starts talking about how this year on her team, I guess she's been sizing everybody up. Nobody's really aggressive or anything. Last year, her and this other girl were the two most aggressive. And, there was a game where she personally scored 3 or 4 goals, which for soccer is pretty good. And so I guess she's been sizing up her teammates. They just had their first practice Monday, and she sees them as collectively or individually nowhere near as aggressive as she is. It made me laugh because she was just so amped up and she wanted to go crush these fools, so to speak.
But is she talking about crushing her own team?
No. She was talking about crushing the opposing team, and then she kind of transitioned into talking about how her team wasn't aggressive as it had been. And so she was going to have to really try and get them in that mindset, I guess, and kind of get them going, be the unofficial team captain, I guess.
Yeah. And you should show her like some old George Patton footage.
Right.
Like, this is how you lead.
Yeah. Charge the hill, right? I think that'll be fun on Saturday, her first game. I know she's looking forward to it.
So did you watch the Women's World Cup with her?
We didn't. We don't. I'm sure it was on a streaming platform. We don't watch a ton of TV. We just don't have the time for it.
Is she aware of it?
I don't know, to be honest. I think she's aware that people play soccer, that, you could get a scholarship for soccer, you could play at a higher level, but she's not. Yeah, I don't.
So at 7 years old, she's aware that you can get a scholarship to college to play soccer.
Yeah.
So she's already thinking that far ahead.
Well, I don't think she's thinking about it. She's aware of it because we've talked about, like, what do you want to do? You can do gymnastics and maybe you can go to college and do gymnastics. You can do soccer and maybe you could do soccer in college, but that could be aside from your actual career. If you're fortunate and good enough and you work hard enough, that could take you a really long ways, even beyond college. But I don't think, she really thinks that much into it or plans, her life out that far. Right now, she just wants to do things she enjoys. And beyond that, she's like, I don't want to get married, but maybe I'll find a husband who can work and I'll be a gymnast. I'm like, oh, or you could turn that into a career, or, something that you parlay into a career later on. But
yeah, I'm just curious because I feel like now is such a great time for women's athletics in terms of getting the respect they deserve for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
At least more regularly. And to have role models for her to watch doing the things that she loves.
Yeah.
I think that would be really inspiring.
Yeah, I agree. We just don't watch sports. I don't watch sports. Caitlin doesn't watch sports. We don't have a lot of TV time. You're not wrong in that. And, I'll try and make a point. She is aware of, like, gymnastics competitions. She always asks about the Olympics in particular, and she wants us to keep an eye on that. But I don't think it's clicked for her that, soccer is also televised and it's played at a high level.
Yeah, I know. She's 7, dude, in a house that doesn't watch a lot of TV.
I know, yeah.
You could introduce her to this.
Plus, I want to do that, before women's soccer is filled with men. I'm just saying, it's fucking bullshit, but
so
fuck it.
Go ahead. Tell me your thoughts on that. Where's that coming from?
Dude. So we intentionally don't send our daughter to public school. It's a madhouse. They are, in certain areas, allowing and or encouraging children who want to be animals to be animals. They're putting litter boxes in for them to shit in. They're allowing them to communicate with meows or barks. This is asinine. I'm sorry, but no, you cannot be whatever you want. You can't be a freaking dolphin. You weren't born a dolphin.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But when it comes to transgender, which I think is the root of the comment about men and women.
We're probably going to have to.
Seriously, you think that's a thing, like a problem?
So the problem I have with it is, like, I'm very libertarian. I'm not about spreading hate or anything like that. But what I don't want is agendas or values that aren't my own shoved down my daughter's throat. And I don't think that it's acceptable for a child, a 7, 8, 10, 12, 13-year-old child, to make decisions that are so drastic that they will have lifelong implications that child may then later regret. I think the guardians or the parents in that situation have done that child a disservice.
No, okay. You're entitled to that opinion, but what about the idea of before women's soccer is all men? You're talking now about adults. You're talking about
Yeah.
professional
Well, do you
leagues.
think it's fair to allow somebody that is biologically male to compete with someone that is biologically female?
Sure.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't
in
think
certain
they have an unfair
circumstances.
advantage?
Not necessarily.
Why are these transgender individuals that were previously male becoming women going and crushing all these women's records
I think
if they don't have an unfair advantage?
There is one instance where that was a case, and it was a swimmer.
Mhm. I think it's also happened in powerlifting. I've seen it more than once. Like your brief headline. I didn't read the story, but like pops up in your browser feed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do know a female weightlifter who transitioned to male, and she got smoked.
So there's an advantage, right? And it doesn't make sense if that's the case.
Here's the thing. To me, it's like if you are so set on crushing records that you want to have a gender transition, there's something else wrong with you.
Right.
But if you want to continue to play sports, even though you feel like you are misassigned at birth, or however,
Right.
Whatever the terminology is for that, all right.
Well, then, yeah. So why don't those individuals compete with like individuals that were biologically the same at birth and now are physically the same in whatever sport they play?
There's not enough of them.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems that there's an unfair advantage.
I mean, based on what?
Based on, spending
muscle
20,
mass?
30 years, as a male with higher testosterone, lower estrogen, you have a greater capacity for strength and to build muscle. And then, the moment you remove your external genitalia, you're allowed to compete as the other sex, the other gender, whatever is the appropriate term.
Yeah,
Men and women are not the same.
No, they're not. But I also think that
Physically, emotionally,
there
or
are
mentally.
also men and men who are not the same, and women who are not the same.
Sure,
Right? There
sure.
are women who have higher testosterone count naturally than some men. It's just
If
the
you
way
go
it
to
is.
extreme, sure, yeah.
And that's without doping. It's just how biologically
Well,
you...
that's the other aspect too. Then why isn't everything on the table, so to speak? You can compete against whoever you want. You can take whatever you want in any sport.
Because the talent still turns out.
I
If
don't-
women
I don't
want to
think it's
try
the
out for
same.
Major League Baseball, they absolutely can.
Sure. Why not?
Right?
Are they going to be able to compete with the dudes? I don't know. I don't watch.
And that's why they're not in the league.
Yeah.
But there have been college football players who are women. We're not talking about women who transition. We're talking about women.
But in the other direction, I don't think it's fair. So should you be able to go try out and compete for women's softball?
No. Because,
Why not?
Because there's a parallel for me in the men's game.
Well, there's softball, or the other way you were saying, like women could play softball instead of going out for MLB or.
Yeah, but there's no money in it. It all depends, man. It all depends. I think saying a blanket statement of, oh, if you're trans, then you don't get to play.
I don't see it as fair or appropriate that somebody was born as a man who has more physical advantages can change themselves physically and then play as a woman.
Dude, I've seen enough female athletes that are better than so many men that to me it's not an issue. If you're at the top of your game, I don't think it's an issue.
So Olympics, everything, anybody should be able to do whatever they want.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if there is an analogous event, if there's a women's 100 and a men's 100, Usain Bolt's not going to come and compete against the women.
Why not?
Because he is better.
What if he cuts his external genitalia off?
If he wanted to, at that point, if he transitioned and he wanted to, then sure.
You don't think he has an unfair advantage?
Dude, you're looking at, that's the most extreme case. You're looking at the most
Just
extreme
answer the
case.
question. Does he or does he not have an unfair advantage?
I can't answer that question.
Why not?
Because
Because you don't want to.
No, because I don't. You're saying that if I stood up right now and cut my dick off and all of a sudden I'm a girl, do I still have an unfair advantage? Yes. But in order to go through the transition process, there's hormones, there's all kinds of other stuff that goes through that process.
Right.
You're not the same. It's not the same. It's not like, oh, I cut my dick off and now I'm a girl. It's not the same thing. All
But
of
it's
the
not
rest of
the
that
same.
process.
It's not the same as having been biologically female your entire life.
No, but then but there's some females who have been biologically female their entire life that have the same testosterone profile as a man who's been a man his entire life.
Sure.
So you're picking the one, but why would you not call it the other? And there have been cases made against, there was a particular track and field athlete who was female, who had ridiculous testosterone levels. She got tested constantly by doping agencies, but it was her natural state. People were like, oh, it's unfair. It's like, what the fuck do you want from her?
Right.
Are we not trying to find the most gifted humans? Are we not trying to see excellence? Why would you not want to include someone just because they're that much better?
I don't think we're going to see eye to eye on this.
Show me the data. all I can say. You're throwing hypotheticals out there that they're going to be so much better.
Well,
But
show me
there's
the
no
data where they're not.
There's no data.
Right. So you
you're-
show me the data, I'll show you
so-
the data. Like, we can't. That's the point. And I'm saying,
Right, and I'm saying,
you're not going to
so
convince
until
me.
you-
I'm not going to convince you.
Well, I'm saying until you give them a chance, and if all of a sudden, all these trans girls are
taking
smoking
all
the
the
field,
scholarships. They're taking all the spots.
well, then there's a problem.
Yeah, but it's
until
too
you
late
know,
then.
no, it's not. How's it too late then?
Well, how many people lost out because of some twisted social experiment? It's just not the same. You are genetically different at the DNA level.
Dude, you and
aside
I
from
are
hormones.
genetically different.
Yes.
If we
But our
competed,
chromosomes are similar.
well, if we competed in the hair growing Olympics, I would fucking smoke you, and it has nothing to do with our genetics. It is genetics.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it has nothing to do with anything else.
Right. Now we're talking above the neck or below the neck? Because I agree with the statement either way.
Anyway.
High low wild card, buddy.
Yeah, man, it's my high low wild card. So the high this week was actually pretty cool. I don't get on Facebook very much at all.
Mm-hmm.
I was on there because I was setting up a Facebook page for ATS, so now that's out there. But while I was on there, I saw a post so the road I live on, I live in a very rural area, and so there's a group of all of the people who live on this road that I live on.
Solely for closures because it's such a nightmare.
That's why I use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all kinds of stuff. It's
Just a
like
general
my dog's
community
missing,
page.
someone's cow got loose, it's whatever. So I use it when it rains. I check and see if the roads are closed. So I checked out, all the million things that I had, and I went onto that page. And I saw that one of my neighbors had posted that she had just recently taken her son out of school because he was being bullied. And I think he's got some kind of a disability. So she had to take him out of school. He's going to a new school, but she just let everyone know that he's doing all right.
How old is he? Did she say?
No, I would guess middle school.
Okay, yeah.
I reached out to her and I said, hey, it breaks my heart to hear that your son was going through this, but I wrote this book and I want to give you a copy. And she responded and was like, that would be wonderful. So I got to give a copy of the book that I wrote specifically for that young man.
That's awesome.
Right? I mean, effectively, that's who I wrote it for.
Yeah, that's your audience.
And so I was just overwhelmingly happy to have an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I bet. That's awesome. Are you looking forward to, potentially any feedback or thoughts, or will you solicit said feedback?
No, I don't think I'll solicit. In the book, I wrote him a note and just said, hey, man, if you ever want to chat, give me a call or whatever.
Yeah.
If he wants to reach out, great. If not, that's fine. But I know that it got to him.
I'd be interested particularly in feedback from the parent, if they see any change or if it sparks any conversation between him and them.
No, I agree. I think that would be good, but I also don't want to be like, hey, did you read my book yet?
Yeah, exactly. That'd be kind of more organically as you're chatting, maybe months or a year down the road.
Exactly.
Or
Yeah,
something.
if follow up in a while.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my high. My low is related to aging. It's a low-ish. Like I told you, I'm training right now, I work out 3 days a week.
Right.
So I'm doing squats, deads, presses, a bunch of kettlebell stuff. And so I was doing squats a couple weeks ago, and I had 80 kilos on the bar, man, which is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing back squats,
Yeah.
and my knees are just like they feel like they're going to explode.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I got through like 2 sets fighting, like my patellas felt like they were just going to snap. And I was like, that's it. I'm done. Just take me out back and shoot me,
You're squatting not even your body weight.
Not even close to body weight. Yeah.
That sucks, dude.
I chalked it up to a bad day and let it lie.
Yeah.
I went back the next week and front squatted and added 20 kilos to it.
Yeah.
Did a 5x5, no problem.
Yeah.
So it
Just
was
a bad
just the
day.
day. I
But
didn't.
a taste of what's to come.
Yeah, man. It was just like, oh shit, this is what it's about, huh?
Dude, I have been fighting that battle for what feels like a couple years now, and it is such a losing
Do you remember
battle.
when it used to be you could walk up to anything, pick it up, throw it around, whatever, no warm up, no stretching, and just feel like there's nothing?
Yeah. Man. I walked into the gym a few years ago, probably more than a few at this point, pre-pandemic. And within 20 minutes, there was a little bit of a warm-up. At one point, I was deadlifting 500 pounds from a 3-inch deficit, like nothing.
Yeah.
It was easy. And, doing reps, not doing singles. It's easy. It's just some light deficit deadlifts.
Yeah.
Not anymore, man.
Yeah. So anyway, the next workout of that week, I just was doing some kettlebell stuff, and I was a little short on time, so I didn't warm up. Just started doing swings. I was like, so I'll work my way into it. Man, I cannot. Like, my back is jacked.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, not in a good way.
So it's taken a week, and I squatted again yesterday, which is probably ill-advised. A little bit of pain, not a big deal. If I push it, it'll probably feel better. But no, it did not.
I'm with you, dude. It sucks.
So unfortunately, I have to say that my mental game is the strongest part of my portfolio now, which isn't saying much. But, it is what it is.
Yeah.
We all get there eventually.
Yeah, man.
So I'm told. So my wild card. This is interesting because I want to get your take on this, right? So
Yeah.
I was talking to someone at work. She saw every day I eat an apple and a can of either sardines or mackerel.
Mm-hmm.
And I have for years, at
Yeah.
least 5 years.
As long as I've known you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I eat at work. Because it's simple. You pack it up in your bag. You walk out the door. There's no prep. There's no nothing. It's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, no refrigeration. It's just easy.
Exactly. So that's why I do it primarily. And it's good. You get your fat, protein, carbs, boom, 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 all good to go. So this woman, she's been ragging on me for years about eating cat food or whatever. And then she comes in and she's telling me, my husband started buying this. He's eating sardines and he's doing it for his health. And she starts going down this rabbit trail of blood work, cholesterol, this, that, and the other. And she says, but he refuses to go to the doctor. He doesn't want to get any kind of test. He doesn't want to get anything done. And, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that he's going to die. I'm afraid that something's not going to be right. And I just worry about him. And I have to get on him and I have to get angry with him because if I'm angry with him, that's the only time he'll think about doing something. I was thinking about this for a minute and I thought, no, you're going about it wrong. If you want your husband to do something for himself, getting mad at him is not going to cut it. You need to tell him how you feel. So I asked her, I said, have you told him that you're afraid and that you're worried? And she was like, no, I would never tell him that. I have to be the tough one. And I'm like, no, if you want your husband to do something, you tell him that you're afraid, you're worried, and see if that doesn't flick that switch in him that says, I got to do this for my woman.
I have to ask. This is a loaded question, and I know the answer. This woman and this man are older than us, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, by a good bit.
A good bit.
I'm shocked, Tom. No, I'm not. I think it sounds almost standard to me. Like this is how people our parents' age operate.
Yes, but don't you think that's correct? If your wife is yelling at you to do something, you're like, God, stop nagging me. Just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Right? But if it's
I don't
something,
want that smoke.
Right. And if she comes to you and if she shows vulnerability and fear or worry, does that not change the way that you address the situation?
I mean, it might change my response. I don't know. I'm going to be like, you married the most alpha dude you can find, baby. Don't worry about it.
Oh, my God. Get out of here.
No, I mean, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't automatically shut off. I couldn't imagine living that way. I wouldn't. It would drive me insane. I would be the most miserable prick in the world if I was being nagged constantly.
Yeah, if you're being nagged constantly, it's the worst.
Yeah.
But if someone is showing a genuine concern, right?
How can you get mad at that?
No, you can't get mad at that. That's the point. But it also inspires action.
It could, right? In that type of situation, yeah.
I'm just thinking, and this is not a real example, so I'm not throwing Anna under the bus, but
Disclaimer.
if there was something going on around the house that I just kind of been putting off, or even for myself, like if I had a health issue that I was like, I don't really want to know. Like, I'm the opposite. I want to know. I go to the doctor. I do all that stuff.
Yeah.
I just turned 40. I've had a cardiologist for 5 years already. So
that's insane.
Yeah, it runs my family though. So it's, but point being, if there was something that I didn't want to do, but rather than her nagging me to do it, she expressed a fear, worry, or concern for her own safety or her own well-being, I would absolutely do it because that sparks in me, I'm here to take care of you. Not that you need me, but that's my role. I see myself in that way and I want to do that.
Yeah, because you kind of view it at that point, it's no longer about taking care of yourself. It's about taking care of her.
Right. So I haven't followed it up yet, but I do think that's a interesting take to hear her say that she couldn't be vulnerable. She couldn't be real with her husband.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't respond. He only responds when she gets angry. And I'm like, no, I think he responds when he's tired of the nagging to the point that he's going to murder you if you don't stop. Is probably the case.
Nobody's going to get murdered.
But if you are being real with him and showing what you truly feel rather than what you feel you need to project to get your point across, I think the outcome will be a lot more along the lines of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Note to all the ladies out there, this applies. I don't know what I'm trying to say now, but I'm burying myself here.
Yeah, you are. Just abort.
So that was my high-low wild card anyway. This week, we're talking about the conversation I had with Bolek, or Bo. And when you were talking about your low of being generally dissatisfied all these things, I immediately thought about the way that he talks about going through life as a, meh, just brush it off and move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that I took away from this, that having known him for several years, I recognized in him, but I thought he was just kind of aloof. But in fact, that's just the way that he approaches life.
Yeah.
And I wish that I could do that. And if you think about it, connecting some dots here, when you're talking about just keep going, bad shit's going to happen, good shit's going to happen, don't let either one of them pull you too far in either direction, that's equanimity. And that's one of the tenets of mindfulness that Jeff was talking about 2 weeks ago. So, it's pretty crazy that here we are tying all these things together, and you're seeing someone that I didn't ask him. I don't think that he's the type to have a meditation practice of any kind.
Right.
But just the way he moves through the world is that same equanimity. Yeah, it's going to bother me. It might not. Whatever.
Yeah, and he just comes by it a little bit more naturally than, say, Jeff, who is very intentional about focusing on it.
Yeah, I think he comes about it naturally, but I think coming by it naturally is connected to his experience as the son of immigrants.
Yeah, and I had 3 major kind of notes that I wanted to chat about. One of which is kind of his experience as a child of immigrants in this country, and then the other was his outlook on life and everything in general, which you just touched on. It just appeared to me that he had such a healthy outlook on everything, as you just described. One story in particular that he talked about was where him and his siblings, they were being babysat by a lady named Nadia, and she had an alcoholic husband. And it was just kind of like the way he described that whole situation, it wasn't a big deal. She was protecting us, keeping us away from him or whatever. And it just wasn't a big deal to him. Thinking to myself, oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's like
if you saw that as a parent, you took your kids over to have someone babysit.
Oh, I'd be flipping shit, dude.
Yeah.
I'd probably get locked up. Yeah.
Right, but it's such a different perspective. And these people, they're coming over here, like he said, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, coming over here and being a handyman.
Yeah.
Fixing faucets and stuff.
Yeah. Doctors, taking custodial type roles. It's just different. It's crazy. And then so you've got somebody like him who, again, it seemed to me had such a healthy, positive outlook on life, and that was the way he grew up. And then you could contrast that to American kids that for generations they have been here in the States and, quote unquote, have it all, but they have this victim's mentality, that I touched on earlier, that I've had for the last week, where they're miserable and everything sucks and they're just angry because daddy wouldn't buy them a new car when they turn 16 or something like that. And it's just the contrast is crazy to me.
And I think this speaks to something that to me is a bigger deal. So when I think about the immigrant experience in the United States, and I understand that immigration is a huge third rail topic politically, I don't want to come at it from a political perspective, taking that stuff off the table. When you look at someone who's willing to change their life, uproot completely from everything they've ever known, everyone they've ever known, and go to a new country to start over, to me that takes so much commitment, dedication, organization, work ethic, all of these things. How can you look at that person and say they're here to suck off the teat of the American taxpayer?
It's so funny. I just started to say teat as well, right? And the other thing, right? Hey, guy, are you Native American? You're from immigrants too.
Yeah, exactly, right? So all of us, and who knows, they probably came from Asia across the land bridge, somebody, right?
Right.
I mean, when you really think about it, essentially we're all people, we're all here.
Right.
But my point is, we put so much emphasis on anyone coming across the border is a bad person. There's that ideology. It's not even an ideology. It's the picture that's given to us.
Yeah.
Right? The painting of the immigrant. And I've just never met one who is that way.
Yeah.
Ever. They all work their ass off.
Look, man, there are people that don't contribute that are natural born citizens. There are people that contribute at a high level that immigrated to this country. There are people that come to this country and, participate in gang activity. There are people that were naturally born in this country and participate in gang activity. There's no one group that is causing crime or causing whatever Everybody's doing it. There are people that do good things and there are people that do bad things from all walks of life. To say, well, if you enter this country by traveling north across a border, you are bad. If you enter this country by traveling south across a border, you're good. That's bullshit. There's people that do good things. There's people that do bad things. They come from everywhere, all walks of life.
Yeah, I would just encourage people to look at the person and put yourself in their shoes. Walk a mile in their shoes. And I've done this with a few friends of mine who are staunchly opposed to any type of immigration that is not fully validated, vetted, gone through the process, right? I understand the concept of law-abiding citizen. I understand why we have those things in place.
Yeah, but in similar situations, what would that person do?
Exactly.
They would flee, they would move, they would try to improve their lives.
Or perhaps they wouldn't, because, again, it takes someone who is that committed, that organized,
willing
dedicated.
to put it on the line.
Yeah. If you have nothing left that you could possibly lose, and that's the only way you're going to take that risk.
And you're willing to fight.
I mean, if you were truly a lazy bum, it would be too much effort to think about cutting your way through the rainforest, struggling across a desert, hoping that the coyotes you paid off are actually going to get you here instead of dropping you in the middle of...
Yeah, or drifting across an ocean, in a makeshift raft. Yeah, it's crazy. Another point that this kind of transitions into is I think we're missing something. I think there's something in his upbringing that we don't have the benefit of. So a great example is the part where he talks about doing taxes. And this is not something that a typical American would have to do or would get to do. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, guess what? When you have to start filing taxes, you've already got it licked, Jack. You're gaining a skill. And to his point, he was kind of lining his pockets along the way, helping his parents out, all that. I think we could benefit. I could have benefited a little bit more from that type of upbringing. I think I would have started off with more tangible skills, real world skills,
Happy 5th birthday, Will. Here's your W-2.
Yeah, you're rocking and rolling. By the time you're out of high school, you have life skills that a lot of us spend, our 20s trying to figure out.
Yeah, and still haven't got figured out in many cases.
Yeah, 20s and 30s even, and a work ethic that goes with it. I wonder to what extent that type of upbringing contributed to his success. I would say, based on what I heard from his story, that he's successful. He's what I would classify as a successful, well-adjusted individual. And how much of that is nature versus nurture? Probably a little bit of both, but I think, again, collectively as Americans, or the way typical American children are raised, we're missing out on something that, the way he was raised, he gained from.
Absolutely. I look at my dad, and coming from immigrant parents as well, different way of looking at life. Responsibility is a word that is heavily used. Even for me growing up, responsibility was like, oh, all right, don't be a dick to my parents.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's the responsibility.
You might have to cut the grass as you get older or something.
Maybe,
yeah.
Right? And if you don't, and you say, I don't want to do it today, Dad will still do it this weekend. There was not if you don't do this, you won't get this, or you won't be able to eat, or there's no consequence, right? So to his point, he mentioned, he loves his parents, but he also remembers having a very if this, then this relationship.
Very transactional.
Very transactional.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine having come up that way, right? There were certain things that if I really wanted something, then it was like, all right, well, if you want to do this, you're going to have to work this, you're going to have to do this, and this. Mm-hmm. But think about how many kids get a dog and promise their parents, I'll take care of it. And then 1 or 2 weeks in, who's taking care of that dog?
Oh, the parents, absolutely, yeah.
So to think about what he went through, yes. Is there a downside to it? Yeah, probably. He didn't have any social life at all in high school. So he had to learn all those skills after the fact. But he comes up with the idea of, well, some good things happen, some bad things happen, but if I wake up the next day breathing, it's a good day.
I only know what I heard from his interview, but I would argue he probably did have social skills. They were just not peer-to-peer social skills. His social skills that he developed over his childhood were interactions with adults.
Or other kids that were in the same setting. He mentioned his brother Greg, his friend Arthur, both of them coming up in the same area, and that's what was the hard transition for him, was being able to have meaningful conversations with kids who were not raised in the same setting.
Yeah.
And that has been a hard adjustment for him to realize that, just because they didn't grow up in the Polish slums in New Jersey doesn't mean that they also haven't had something of a life experience that we can connect over.
Right, yeah.
So I think there is something to that, for sure. The other thing I found interesting on that same track is that I was super embarrassed, actually, because he was like, I didn't even do that good on my SATs. I got 12, whatever.
I know. I did the same thing. I'm like, what did I get? Damn, dude, that's not that bad. What are you talking
He
about?
smoked me, I'll tell you that. And I was like, shit, I thought I did good. So, yeah. I mean, the level for him of what was acceptable, that bar was just so much higher.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
part of that is also coming from, hey, we worked our asses off to get here so you can have an opportunity.
Don't F it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they ever told him that, but he knew it. It was inferred. And that's why he said when he got that first B on his test in college, he was mortified.
Yeah.
And was like, never again.
And
And it wasn't anything that anyone told him. He was embarrassed and he didn't want to let his parents down. Didn't want to let himself down. He was like, I'm dialing it up to 11, all work, and I'm going to get this done.
Yeah.
And he did. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have done that. I would have looked at that B and been like, hell yeah.
Bro, C's get degrees. What are you
That's
talking
it.
about? Yeah.
And so this is a prime example. You and I, let's be honest, straight white dudes in this country, we do have some advantages.
yeah.
And we're exactly the people that you were talking about. When you look at someone who's been raised in a community of immigrants, he's looking at his father, he's looking at these other men around him, some of whom have advanced degrees and are working shitty jobs just because they can't get something better because their degree is from Poland.
Right.
But they're freaking brilliant dudes.
Yeah.
And they're making it happen. If that's what you grow up looking at and you have an opportunity ahead of you and you don't take advantage of it, you're letting everybody down because
Yeah.
they've counted on you. Like he said, they didn't have the connections to be able to pull a string and say, oh, this is my buddy Bo. Go ahead and give him a slot at whatever school. Everything that he had to work for and earn on his own merits because he didn't have any coattails to ride.
Yeah.
And people like you and me, I don't feel like I had coattails to ride either. I don't know if you did.
I definitely did not.
But I would still say that our situation was much better than his just because we had community connections, even if they were peripheral, relative to someone starting from nothing.
Yeah, and a much larger community, right?
Right.
Yeah, and so, I, aside from grants and financial aid and things of that nature, I footed the bill for college for myself, so to speak, with support from my parents, living expenses, things of that nature. And in my very first semester, I went to college and I was partying, I don't know, 5 nights a week, something like that. I'd wait till, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday to get it going. And just did what I needed to do. And I can't remember what my first semester GPA was. It was in the 2s. I was like, whoa, what am I doing? Why am I racking up this bill if I'm not going to take it serious? And I quit doing that. And, I went to only partying on the weekends. And the next semester I had a 4.0. So I can appreciate his desire and his drive. B, I can't imagine what a 2.0 would have done to him. He would have never gotten to that point.
No, there's no way he would have gotten to that point. Yeah.
So from him, that came kind of because of the external expectation, even if it was perceived, whether or not his family community put that on him. Mine came from the internal, but I appreciate the whoa, I'm not wasting this opportunity,
Yeah, I think his was internal too.
Yeah.
But it is those external factors that are subliminal. The final point that I thought Bo had down was when he mentioned what is right versus who is right when arguing.
Yeah.
That's something that I have become better at, but there was definitely a younger Tom that would absolutely die on a hill for something that I believed, even if at the end of the day, that argument convinced me that my way was not the best way to do something,
Right.
I would still not let it go.
Yeah.
And I think it shows a lot of health and maturity to be able to say, hey, yeah, you're right. That is a better way. And I'm here for the right way rather than my way.
Yeah. That is mature and that is healthy and that is hard, I think, naturally for a lot of people to kind of take that approach. It's funny, we went through my points completely in the opposite order. I had them, they kind of built on each other, and that was chronologically the way they flowed. But the first one I had, which I will now share last, is I was kind of laughing and I thought it was funny and interesting, the bit where you guys were talking about how basically, and I'm going to paraphrase here, you started CrossFit out of jealousy.
Effectively, that's
yeah,
true.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I'm like, Tom, you insecure little bastard. He talked about feeling the same jealousy, but not being as bothered by it as you were. And I was thinking about my relationship with Caitlin and just ruminating on that a little bit because I found it interesting. Caitlin has never really been into gym life or anything like that. And she's just not naturally very outgoing or interested in socializing kind of like that. And so it's never really been a thing for me. And I was kind of trying to put myself in y'all's shoes and determine what my response would be. Now, I think being younger, being in the 20s at that point or whatever, I assume I would likely have the same reaction. But here and now, my thought was if I were to try and put myself in that spot right now, baby, you got yourself the most alpha dude anyways, so I'm not worried. No, I'm just joking.
Well, yeah, now it's a different story.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, because you said she gets up how early and goes to the gym?
She gets up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym.
And are you worried about the dudes? Or are you
No,
worried
because-
about
well, I
her
also
not
know
waking
them.
you up on the way out?
I know them and I know her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
It's not a trust thing, per se.
no, and that was not, like, it wasn't a trust thing.
Yeah.
It was more like I've never heard of a gym where people socialize during the workout and then go and get beers afterward.
Oh, yeah. To me, that sounds like hell.
This shows my age as well. CrossFit was pretty much brand new. There were 2 CrossFit gyms in Denver at the time.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
And, I mean, now you can't throw a rock without hitting 3 of them on a ricochet.
Yeah.
So that's how new it was. I'd never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she got there, you also have to remember she moved from Indianapolis where she lived for pretty much her whole life.
Yeah.
And she moved to Denver at 25, 26.
For what reason?
To be with me.
Oh, so you already knew her at that. How did you guys meet? Because you didn't grow up in...
No, we met at a trade show in Las Vegas.
That's right. You
Yeah.
told me that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
And so we
Gotcha.
dated long distance. She moved out to Denver.
Damn.
And so
I don't know if you were worth it, Tom.
we'll have to ask her. She'll
Yeah.
probably tell you jury's still out. But
TBD, yeah.
So one of the first things, she got her apartment. And I went over and was hanging out with her one night. And she was like, oh, I met the nicest guy on the street today. He invited me to a party at his house tonight. And I was like, what? She's like, yes, I'm just a nice kid on the sidewalk. Just invited me to a party. I think I'm going to go. And I was like, the fuck you are?
Yeah, what? So this dude can roofie you?
Yeah,
Get the hell
exactly.
outta here.
But I think she was a fish out of water.
Yeah.
And she was trying to find her way, trying to find her own friends, make her own connections,
yeah.
right? So then going to this gym, and it's the same story. I'm like, wait a second. This sounds familiar. Is this the same kid from the street? You know, like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I had to go check it out.
You're like,
and then,
Denver, what the hell is up with this place?
well, they did call it Menver.
Did it really? Is
Yeah.
that why you moved there?
Yeah. But yes, I thought that was interesting as well. It's just a different perspective.
Yeah.
But him knowing that perspective, and it wasn't like he didn't come to the gym. He would come. He'd be like, what's up, guys? I'm out.
Yeah.
And his wife would be there lifting with us.
Yeah.
I
That's
so-
cool. That's cool. I mean, I think so, you know, even somebody that's so well adjusted as he appears to be based on, you know, that conversation and just his general outlook, even someone, you know, such as himself felt that jealousy, right? And I think naturally when we're in our teens, late teens and 20s, we're more aggro, right? Testosterone levels
absolutely.
are higher.
Yeah.
We're just aggressive. We're, you know, and so I don't know, bro. You're not going to talk to my chick. Like,
Yeah.
in all honesty, I think we all feel that. It's just how we respond to it.
This is a great point to tell you about the one fight I've been in my life, which is not really a fight. And it goes to this aggro point. I went snowboarding and spent the day with a bunch of guys snowboarding, came down, and Anna was downtown on a Saturday night with a bunch of girls at a bar.
Yeah.
So I went down to meet him, and I walked in, and there's these 2 dudes chatting her up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just walked over. I was like, "Hey guys, it's my girlfriend." And I
Oh,
was
you
kinda,
just let out
just
with
kind of
that.
like
Yeah.
just like slid right in. It was like, "Hey, you know how's it going?" I said hi to her, whatever. And this little guy, sorry, Will,
Always the little guys.
this little it was
Yeah.
the little
Is
guy.
that sizeism?
No, it's
No,
just
you casting shade at
douchebagism.
small guys.
Douchebag. This little guy is like getting kind of puffy about it. You could tell he was drunk.
Uh-huh.
I was sober. I hadn't had anything to drink yet. I
Yeah.
had just got my first beer. Went over, what's up, guys? You know, step in talking to Anna. And this guy puffs up and he goes, "Oh, you know what this is? This is your Napoleonic complex." And I was like, "I don't think you know what that means." As he's looking up at me. And his buddy like pulls him away. They walk away. I turn around. I start talking to Anna.
Is he like, hey, my boy's wicked smart?
The little dude comes and jumps on me from behind and puts me in a headlock and tries to choke me
Like
out.
piggyback style?
Yeah. Tries to choke me out. And I'm like trying to get him, but he's buried his head.
And you can't reach him.
Yeah, he's buried his head in my back, and he's hanging on my neck. And I'm like turning around in circles. I see his buddy looking like, oh my God, I can't believe you did it. Like, and I'm just turning around in circles. I see people all around me with that same look. I start to feel myself like, all right, I need to get out of this headlock.
Yeah, you're
right?
losing oxygen.
So I fucking bit him. This is the only thing that I could actually get any part of me on.
Where
to
are
get
the
him off
freaking
of me.
bouncers?
They eventually got there.
Right.
So I bit the shit out of his thumb, and then they threw us all out. So that was my fight experience.
That's crazy, man. Yeah. That's crazy. I will admit, I would stir some shit up when I was drinking in college, and there was a group of guys I'd hang out with that were very into that. And so, as I would become intoxicated, I'd start like, yeah, let's go start some shit, right? I'm not proud of it. It's dumb, but I did it, so I'm not going to lie about it. And I remember one time we were in 7-Eleven we were boozing hard. We were doing like 32-ounce Irish car bombs and just hours and hours and hours. And of course, went to 7-Eleven to get like taquitos or freaking God knows
what. Of course,
yeah, just garbage food. And I'm sitting there like getting nachos and just loading up. And I hear this kid say something, and I'm like, I'm just primed. I'm ready. And I turn, I'm like, what the fuck did you say? Like yelled it across, throughout the store. And the place is packed and everybody stops. And he's like, I was just talking to my buddy. I'm like, you listen to me, and like Caitlin's like pulling, like, Will, we gotta go.
Whoa. You weren't with your boys, you were with Caitlin when this happened?
Well, I was just with my boys, and then so I was still on that. Yeah, man, I know it's not cool, but that's the type of shit I used to do in my early 20s.
We agree. Dudes in their late teens, early 20s are
Just
assholes.
aggro, man. Yeah. Now sober, I would never. I never did that. I was always trying to avoid conflict if I could. Drinking, being around other guys my age.
There's something buried in there that's like, I have to prove myself. I have to find my place. And I don't think that you actively think that, but I think that's part of the hard wiring.
There could be in all of us collectively. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Part of it was just fun.
To stir it up?
To stir up shit. I remember one time a group of guys, our girlfriends were with us, and we're drinking, and we're just talking shit and talking about going and starting shit, and that escalates. Yeah, you want to? Yeah, let's do it. All right. So we slam a couple shots, and we go to the bar down the street, and we're looking around, and we see these two big dudes bigger than all of us, in a booth, and they're just sitting there drinking, having a conversation, and we go, and we're like, we're going to start shit with these guys. We sit down next to them in the booth, just kind of sit down, plop down, and be like, what's up, guys? Just kind of disrespectful like that, but without directly saying something or hitting somebody. We ended up spending like the next 4 hours hanging out with these guys, had a great time, but the intent was to stir up crap. What the hell is wrong with us? Best case scenario, we get arrested. Worst case scenario, somebody dies. Gets stabbed, gets shot, you never know. Yeah. Gets their neck broken in a bar fight. How stupid is that? For what? Because we were young, dumb, drunk, feeling our oats.
Yep, it happens.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to be past that stage of my life without any major occurrences on my record.
Yeah, nobody needs that.
I think that's all I've got for today, man.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to follow up with?
No, I think that's it. Just, please do your magic and, don't make me look like a raging lunatic.
Well, I did wear my fly fishing hat today, the one that I talked about.
Oh, is that what that was? Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, man. Are you a fisherman? Do you fish?
I used to a little bit. My favorite thing to do was, as a kid, we were always trying to get my dad to take us fishing, just something to do. But in college, I got like a small light action reel, and I would just take it in my kayak and just float the river and just kind of fish. Mm-hmm. Mostly catch and release type stuff, but not into fly fishing or anything like that.
Yeah, man, fly fishing is a different animal.
Yeah.
It's something that I've found that I really enjoy, but I just have not found the time or the financial means to go and invest.
Yeah, the gear you need, the places you have to go to, all that.
I'd live in a great area for it.
Yeah, really we do. You can go, just with some sort of open face reel and rod, go trout fishing though without having to fly fish. So there's that option too.
Yeah, I just suck at that kind of fishing. I grew up doing that and never caught a thing.
Really?
Yeah, I'd go fishing with my brother Mike all the time. This guy would be like, throw it out there, here's a fish, throw it out there, here's a fish. We're talking largemouth bass, right?
Yeah.
So he's hauling them in like a freaking pro. I went fishing with this kid for 4 or 5 years.
Same areas.
Never caught a
Same
fish.
tackle, same bait. Like,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
It's
So
weird
if-
how it works.
Yeah. I mean, he's just talented. I can't wait to get him on here because that kid's got some stories that you wouldn't believe. So,
Can't wait to hear them.
all right, man. I'll catch you next week.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.